Hey, this is Sable, your bougie girlfriend, on our Retire to Relocate series. And today I'm going to talk to you about schools. Now, I know most of you, if you're retiring, you are not bringing small children. Maybe you have your grandchildren, or maybe you're not retiring full-time, whatever. You may be bringing children. So I want to give you some things to look at when you're talking about children and you're bringing them to schools. Specifically, I'm just going to be talking about schools, because locating a school for your child is extremely important. You do not want your child's academics to suffer or to go down simply because you decide to live in another country, and it does not have to. But you got to do your homework. You got to understand what is the academic system, the education system that's working in that particular country. Is this a place where you're going to be able to send your child to a public school? Is this a place where you're going to have to send your child to a private school? Are there international schools? Are the schools faith-based? All these things, secular schools, you want to look at. So I want to give you an example of some of the things that we ran into. For instance, when we lived in Nigeria, absolutely not public schools. It was not even something that you would consider. It was not a place where public schools actually had any kind of decent education. So we knew that we had to use a private school. But there were so many different kinds of private schools, and even in the private schools, what kind of education your child was going to receive was also so different. It just varied. And so we opted to go to an American school. It was an American school, and it was also a faith-based school. And so this school, not only was it American faith-based, it made sure that it really used the American, they had a lot of American books from the United States. They also, at the same time, when they taught about currency, they taught about the U.S. currency. Now, when you're doing that, you also have to consider the way of teaching when you're talking about taking your children to another country. Because in the United States, when we're teaching, the thought process on how we teach is more very much from a curiosity base, where we're asking students questions. It's very engaging. We also are not a country where we are really enforcing a really strong and tough rigor, as you would see in the UK. And so our children had an opportunity to enjoy both. They had the rigor of the British system, but they also had the experience of an American system. So you want to think about what kind of education. And then you also want to think about what's the next steps in your child's education, because if you're bringing your child back to the United States for university, or you want your child to go to school in the United States, then you have to ask yourself what school is going to actually prepare them if they were going to come back, or vice versa, or if they're going to go to another country, what school will prepare them best. One of the things that a lot of schools do in other countries is they do A-levels. So is there going to be A-levels in the country that your child is going to? Are you going to need to have your child go through A-levels? Is it going to be an IB school, which is International Baccalaureate, which is also something that's transferable all around the world? So those are the things that you want to take into consideration. You also want to think about language. If you're moving into a country where English is not the first language, then that school, if it's not necessarily a school where their teachers are international, they're coming from all over, where English is their first language, or even it's a very dominant language for them, you will find yourself in a school where, yeah, they tell you that they're teaching in English, but your child will find that they're teaching in English in the native languages at the same time. And that's what also happened to my children. As we went to a school in Ethiopia, they found out, oh my goodness, that they said it was an English school, they taught majority in English, but sometimes the teacher would get stuck and they would say, you know what, I don't know that word in English, I'm going to teach it in Amharic. Now, what is that going to do for my children? They were stuck, they didn't know what to do. And so they had to have other kids in the class translate. Now, were all the students in the class Ethiopian? No, they were not. There were children from all over who were in that class, but yet the language skill of the teacher was so limited that they could not teach the entire subject. So you want to make sure that that school not only teaches in English, but the capabilities of the teachers are able to teach their subject in depth in English. Did not have that problem when we were in Nigeria. All the teachers were able to speak English and teach in English all throughout. So you want that to happen. And that can happen in countries where Spanish is the first language or French is the first language, if that is not truly an international school. And so you want to think about that. The other thing you want to understand is, how do they move students through? And so sometimes the schools have like really big testing systems. Like if you find yourself in a school where the majority of the students are from that country, then they're going to be moving through that system of that country, not an international system. And so therefore maybe 1 year is just for studying for an exam, and you will find that your child is prepping for an exam that they would never take. We saw that happen to us twice in 2 different countries, where my children we spent lots of money on tests that they never were going to need, because they were not going to be staying in a system that needed that test. So that's what you want to think about. You want to also understand, does a school have some of the technology that your child is going to be needing as they move to another area? Are they going to have some of the labs, like when they're doing science? Are they going to have all the labs and the different equipment? So this way that your child are having a really great experience. So looking at schools is so important. Do not just listen to one person and say, hey, oh, this is a great school. Go to that school, sit in some classes, see how the teachers teach, ask to see the lab, see if they have a computer lab, see if they have music, making sure that your children are also still involved in extracurricular activities. Do they have swim? Do they have tennis? Do they have music? All these things, sports, all these things are really important, because you want to give your child still a rounded education, not because you change countries that they won't get that. So that's some information on schools. We hope that really helped you, and you continue to live an elevated life.